I guess you want me to talk about my background, or what do you want to do, Marcus?
How about you talk about, you said you just had meetings this morning. What is institutional money talking about right now, right? What's
Yeah,
Wall
so
Street talking about versus Main Street?
our other business, Trivariate is our core business. We sell research, insights, events, bespoke services to institutional investors, asset managers, hedge funds. And I was just mentioning to Marcus, nobody's really asked me about the tariffs today, despite today being the day of kind of a Supreme Court decision. I think it's kind of in the price. I don't think people expected, much that's different. So the market's rallying a little bit, kind of viewing this as, maybe there's some costs that can go away for businesses. Maybe there's not, but I don't think people view this as a very big incremental. Most of the things that people are talking about in the meetings are around when will we see more proof cases for AI productivity. I think the expectations for earnings are more than 15% for the S&P 500 this year, 15% earnings growth. And so I think people are saying, well, wait a minute, that's embedding some AI productivity and cost cutting from the companies. Are we going to see that in the next couple of quarters, or are the estimates too high? Definitely, that's one area. Two is software. Anyone who's owned software stocks in the last few months has seen some pain. So people are trying to.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think, like you said, the market pretty much priced in these tariffs or the decision from the Supreme Court. In your research, so, and I know with all this being priced in already, have you already accommodated for the tariffs? I know we have 15% earnings growth projected this year. This earnings season was actually pretty strong, and the markets didn't respond as you would expect them to with all the micro and macro data that came out. Gotcha. And the way you broke it down when you mentioned, first of all, with the chips, they might get cheaper, but is the bag going to get smaller? Are they taking a few chips out of their shrinkflation, shrinkflation? But with the, and then also shrinkflation, talking about all this free cash flow that is being affected by the capital expenditures being used by these hyperscalers now, right? Not even so much in the software as we've seen software flush out, and they've started to make these announcements. But we've seen, like you do semi, so we've seen Nvidia be range bound for the last since November. It hasn't really done anything. It's gone up, it's gone down. It can't really go through 200. It seems like that's where it seems to get stuck. And I haven't looked at the market today, like since like right before we got on, but I don't know where it's at. But in that sense, how do you see these companies growing out of this if you're seeing margin expansion? Yeah, law of large numbers when you get to those type of things. But even in right. So a company like Intel or TSM, like Intel actually had a crazy year last year. People didn't really speak about it. Like it went way up, but obviously it had privatization from the government, different things. They want Intel to succeed. Like it's good for American business. I'm doing air quotes for those listening. But inside of that, so you see a shift back to the old economies, probably stocks you were covering before, like Cisco, Intel, but TSM, everything's built on these stocks. And then you mentioned Costco's and Walmart's. People, all this seems like the shift to the old stuff is a cyclical shift back to value because these stocks are value stocks inside of these high growth IBM companies like that. So inside of all of this, how have you seen? Because there are people, like you said, you're a chip analyst. There are people who are only going to invest in chips, and they can't invest in Nvidia right now per se because they don't want to see 8% growth. Where are you seeing the shift inside of chips? Texas Instruments. Perfect. No, you definitely did not go too long in that answer. You can speak longer if you like on that.